So hello guys, and thank you for joining me today. I needed to make this video in response to a few comments I've received regarding the way I express myself in my videos, the reasoning behind my particular perspectives when it comes to certain issues within video games and the video gaming industry. And this is especially pertinent with the news that Peter Molyneux will no longer be speaking to the press ever again due to the way he has been treated. Which is kind of understandable, but which is not exactly unwarranted. But I'll explain that in more detail. So, the reason why I don't have many viewers or subscribers or anything like that, but I have received a few comments over the last couple of months regarding the fact that I'm quite aggressive when it comes to certain issues, and the reason why is because I don't like to sit on my laurels. I like to fight the corner. I like to fight for the people who deserve a voice and the underdog, basically. And issues when it comes to games like Assassin's Creed Unity or Warner Brothers Dying Light, Techland, sorry. These are huge multi-billion-dollar corporations here, and I'm just a tiny little voice. I almost guarantee you that they will not have seen my videos, but I am one of a sizable group of people out there on the internet that voice their concerns and are not afraid to do so. We as consumers have every right to complain about the lackluster quality, the lackluster services that we have received, especially seeing as we are paying for this. But the latest issue with regards to regarding Peter Molyneux is especially pertinent and especially prevalent due to the fact that the game was a Kickstarter game, which is even more of an issue because the consumers have more of an input than they would normally do. So with Kickstarter, you may contribute financially to the game once the game has received the necessary financial backing. Then you may have to purchase the game from retailers like Steam or online from Amazon or wherever. So, the Kickstarter element, which is a totally new kind of dynamic within this day and age, adds a totally new dimension. And to be honest with you, the consumers actually should have more of a say within the actual matter. And it's kind of akin to when a bank becomes majority owned by the public, that we should really have more of a say in its running, because that's the way things are. So with Peter Molyneux, I've never attacked Peter Molyneux at all. I've never criticised any of his work. I've been aware of the way he operated, but I've never publicly attacked or criticised Peter up until now, because, as I said before, the Kickstarter and the Goddess, which was a complete shambles, but we'll talk about that later. I've been playing Peter Molyneux's game since Populous, which I believe is the late 1980s, all the way through Theme Hospital, when he was part of the Bullfrog fraternity. And when he set up his own company, Lionhead Studios, and he joined forces with Microsoft and so on. With Fable, it was a brilliant game. It did have issues, but it was nevertheless an amazing game. But then around about the same time, I think it's around the early 2000s, mid 2000s, things began to go wrong. Cracks started to appear, and I'm not even talking about the problems and the issues with Bullfrog either, but the cracks started to appear with regards to the satellite companies he had established that developed games like the movies and BC. BC was a game that I was very, very looking forward to. I think it's set in and around the Stone Age period, and that was cancelled. As far as I know, there was no reason why it was cancelled, probably due to financial constraints, but there was, as far as I remember, there was no official word. I may be wrong, but it was cancelled. And then we got the movies, and we got obviously Black and White 2, and then we got Fable 3 on the PC, which is available on Steam, but which you can no longer buy because of Games for Windows Live. Because of that fiasco, that game is no longer accessible unless you already bought the game before it was removed. So that was ridiculous. And then of course you got Unity, which is another game which I was very, very much looking forward to, because it was being co-developed with Jeff Minter. Now Jeff Minter is a famous British programmer who developed a game called the Attack of the Mutant Camels, and on various formats, Commodore 64 and so on, and that was cancelled. Totally out of the blue. That game was more or less like in a similar vein to Tempest, very retro, but it concentrated on Jeff Minter's love of psychedelic and strobe lighting in combination with music, and that's completely gone as well. And then we hear about Peter jumping ship at the last minute, or whatever can be made as to the reasons why he does this. I don't know. I would tend to think negatively, because when someone jumps ship, they want to save their own skin. But I'm not that critical of Peter. You have to bear that in mind. But it does seem that he does try to save his own skin. He starts a project, everything's amazing, everything works out, and then he just loses interest, or he can see that things are not going to plan, they're going downhill, and so he wants to jump ship and jump somewhere else, join Microsoft, or start another project, start a new bit, never completing a game through to completion. That is one thing you will not find Peter ever do. And he's done the same with Goddess. With Goddess, people who purchased the game, who funded the game, who dug into their pockets during the time of economic recession, and no doubt purchased the game again on Steam. And look at the reviews. I will show you, in fact I will provide a link as well to the reviews on Steam, and you will see how abysmal that particular game is. Which is really, really sad. It's terrible to see. But to cap it all off, Peter then announces that they have another project in the works, which is another kick in the teeth. I've said this in my other videos. It's a kick in the teeth when you're already on the ground, scrawling on the floor. Basically, the people who invested in your game want to see the full game. They want to see it through to completion, to the very end. And it's a broken game. It's abandonware. If you look at the various comments, you will see the word abandonware, or the two words abandonware, which is terrible. Absolutely, it's very, very disheartening. It indicates to a lot of people that there is a total disregard for the loyalty aspect. These people have contributed financially. They have a greater say in what happens within that particular game than in any other type of game in the past. I will say that now. I mean, I'm sure there will be some people that will turn around and say that's not true, but it is true. They've donated their money to this project to get it up and running. If it wasn't for that, this project wouldn't have even started. So they certainly do have a greater say in general. I'm talking about in general than gamers from previous generations. And if you disagree with that, or if you don't like that, then perhaps you shouldn't be involved in something like Kickstarter. Perhaps you shouldn't be tasked with trying to acquire funding for a particular project, especially if you can't see it through. Now, that's Peter Molyneux. Of the previous videos, I've talked about Dying Light and Assassin's Creed. Dying Light, if you remember, the digital version was scheduled worldwide for the 27th of January, but was delayed everywhere except North America and put back to the 30th. So this is for the digital version, and due to public pressure it was reverted back. They reverted back to the 27th, and of course with Assassin's Creed they had a very, very public letter of apology, apologising for the lacklustre efforts of the latest Assassin's Creed Unity, and that there were various freebies available, such as the King's DLC, and also free games if you purchase the Season Pass. So these issues are, they were all rectified, they were all corrected. Hence the reason why it's very important for you as the consumer to try and make your voice known. If you don't, or if you're unwilling to get your voice out there or to speak openly about what you perceive as being right, then you're really doing yourself an injustice, because not only will you be missing out on what you really deserve for your money, but also you're allowing the developers to essentially remain ignorant of the fact that there are issues that need addressing, and they will, just continue unabated, continue on their merry way, never actually attempting to rectify the issue. Which to me, I can't stand, and I can't tolerate that. I can't just stand by and let that happen. As a consumer, you know, we have to be quite vocal. You don't need me to tell you that nowadays we are more empowered than any other generation, and I'm sure in the future they will be even more empowered than we are. But we have the opportunity through social media to express our views and opinions, and I do apologise if my views come across as being very aggressive, but I do have a very, very tiny voice. As I said, I don't have a huge subscriber base or anything like that, but this is the way I feel. I'm very, very passionate about it. I don't like being ripped off. I don't like consumers such as you and I being ripped off either, and I will speak very, very passionately about these type of things. But please bear in mind that it is not without reason. There's always a reason why. I've just explained the reasons why relating to Assassin's Creed and Dying Light, both of which I was fully justified in doing because they actually corrected their error. And now what with this one on Twitter, Peter Molyneux, which is very, very sad because he's a very, very talented man. He's one of the all-time greats of the British development scene, up there with Jeff Minter as well. And yeah, hopefully they'll get it sorted. Hopefully they can pay back to those who invested within the game. And so I just wanted to make this video just to make it clear that I'm not being aggressive. I'm not being overly critical for the sake of being critical, for the sake of it. I'm being critical because we really do need to get our voices together, to get everyone's voices together in debate, and that's all I'm trying to do. So thank you very much for joining me, guys. Until next time, I'll see you later. Goodbye.